Paddy can pull it off, unbelievable. That'll be 4 champs, 2 interims and 2 legit, well 3 legit now with Tom being promoted from the UK that have become champions. And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy Pimblett.
I want to be very clear. I am not saying that Paddy deserves this more than Arman, but I'm just saying because he hasn't fought, because Ilia hasn't fought, and I suspect they want to get into a training camp. If they haven't even started one already, I suspect they're going to want to announce this, get rolling with the promotion. There's a lot of history there, and you have Arman sit in the front row and you say he is next. Like, let's get some decorum here. Let's start figuring out who's next. What's the pecking order?
The very first fight of the massive new Paramount deal is approaching with incredible speed, and you can already feel it. The opening fight of 2026 feels like a massive storm that's ready to just explode all over the lightweight division. And at the center of it all is a showdown for the entire lightweight title as the human highlight reel himself, Justin Gaethje, prepares to take on the sensational Paddy Pimblett. Jumping right into the debate, the legendary Tony Ferguson came out swinging with his take, arguing that Justin has been through deeper wars, felt heavier, more crushing pressure, and has literally walked through fire more times than Paddy could even begin to imagine. Tony broke it down like this: Paddy's excitement and buzz come from being new and fresh on the scene, but Justin's passion, that comes from a much deeper place. It's forged in pain, hardened by mileage, and defined by legitimate battle scar. Tony left everyone with a chilling warning: when that cage door locks, Paddy's raw energy and hype will simply not be enough to match the sheer weight of Justin Gaethje's brutal experience.
Paddy's not bad, dude. Paddy's not bad. He's very beatable, and Gaethje's very beatable as well. But when it goes into the passion and how upsetting Justin Gaethje has always been about not getting that real title shot, and they just keep dangling it right there again. Paddy's in for a new treat, right? Paddy's the one that's never fought for a belt. He's going in there. He's going to be trying to, get that stuff. He's going to feel a little bit more fresher. He's going to have that little bit of excitedness, in my opinion.
And it wasn't just Tony Ferguson. Max Holloway stood up as a strong supporter of Justin, making the bold claim that the MMA community sometimes acts as if it's completely blind while sleeping on Gaethje's skills. He elaborated on this, explaining that people often get so blinded by the bright lights of Paddy's larger-than-life personality that they tend to forget what Justin Gaethje actually does to his opponents once he's inside that cage. Max put it perfectly, claiming that Justin is pure violence, but it's violence with surgical precision. And when the stakes get higher, when the championship lights are shining brightest, he becomes tougher to break, more difficult to stop, and far more dangerous than any promotional preview could ever hope to show. In Max's view, fans seriously underrate Justin simply because he has been so consistently explosive for so incredibly long now. His level of greatness has started to look normal, when in reality it is anything but.
Paddy gotta get past Justin. Justin's a tough fight, bro. I don't know.
Then you have Arman Tsarukyan, who jumped into this debate with absolutely zero hesitation, and he was strongly backing his side, largely driven by his own intense rivalry with Paddy. Arman explained that when you look at the two fighters, Justin is the only one who truly deserves this shot. He's the one who climbed the ladder through a gauntlet of killers and earned every single one of his ranking points the hard way. He said that Paddy still has gigantic holes in his game, fundamental flaws that fans completely ignore because of all the hype, and he predicted that Justin is the perfect fighter to expose those weaknesses by applying relentless, non-stop pressure from the opening bell. According to Arman, this fight won't even be close. He thinks Justin is going to dominate every single round, silencing the entire crowd with a brutal and decisive display of power.
Justin, if you need the help, let me know. I'll fly to you and help you.
Really?
I mean, I want him to win, and that guy, I hate him. But I hope Justin Gaethje not gonna drink, party, gonna train, dedicate himself, be focused. It's his last chance in this life. He was fighting for the title maybe 5 times. So this is his chance, and the end of his career, win the interim title, fight for the real title, and then retire. That's the best for him.
But hold on, because Michael Bisping immediately pushed back hard on that narrative, warning everyone that they overlooked Paddy Pimblett at their own peril. He explained that Paddy's unique timing, his completely unpredictable movement, and the constant improvements he's making to his game make him a genuinely tricky matchup for anyone in the division, and that absolutely includes a veteran like Justin. Bisping said that people often get blinded by a fighter's personality instead of focusing on their actual skill, and he argues that Paddy has more than enough raw talent to shock all of the critics who are expecting an easy, straightforward win for Justin. He put it bluntly, writing Paddy off is a massive mistake, because a fighter with that level of confidence combined with clean, powerful striking can flip any fight completely on its head if Justin misjudges him for even a split second.
Taken down. Will he dance around the octagon? Yes, he will. Will he try and replicate the game plan of Max Holloway? Of course he will. Who wouldn't try and do that? You aren't going to stand and go toe-to-toe with Justin Gaethje because the man does have knockout power. But underestimate Paddy at your peril. That's all I'll say about that one, but that is a phenomenon.
And Bisping didn't stop there. He also warned that Justin himself has to fight through a mountain of extreme pressure, because for him, this could very well be his final shot at becoming the undisputed champion. He explained how that kind of pressure can seriously mess with a fighter's decision-making when they realize that time is running out on their career. Bisping stressed that Justin absolutely cannot get emotional. He cannot afford to swing wild and get reckless too early, and he must avoid fighting out of desperation. According to Bisping, the incredible mental weight of this moment alone could become a silent, invisible opponent for Justin inside that cage, and that's exactly what could give Paddy the room he needs to steal rounds or create the kind of chaos that will completely shift the fight's momentum.
But if Paddy can pull it off, unbelievable. That'll be 4 champs, 2 interims and 2 legit, well 3 legit now with Tom being promoted from the UK that have become champions. And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy Pimblett.
And joining the debate, another analyst threw his full support behind Paddy to get the job done against Justin. He argued that Paddy's relentless cardio, his incredible scrambling ability, and the wild, unpredictable pace he pushes could potentially drag Justin into some very uncomfortable scrambles on the ground, situations where youth and speed really start to matter. According to this analyst, Paddy absolutely excels in messy, chaotic situations. And if this fight gets ugly and turns into a brawl, Paddy might just be the one to pull off a massive surprise. He feels that Paddy's willingness to take huge risks, even bad ones, could actually be the key to his success, because Justin is known to leave openings sometimes when he gets a little too aggressive in his pursuit of a finish.
Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett. I reckon Pimblett's going to win. He keeps at very good range. Very good range, keeps his distance a lot. Doesn't get caught up in the pocket too much, throws in volume when he does throw a lot of the time with his 1-2, 1-2, and then a jump knee, and a lot of dynamic things that can get the better of Gaethje. Plus, he's going to mix in the takedowns. And Gaethje's getting up there in his career. He's just going through more and more wars, more and more scraps, a ton of time off. Pimblett coming into his prime, has been in shape for a while for this matchup as well.
But here's the take that really turned some heads. Ilia Topuria shocked a lot of fans when he also sided with Paddy. He said that Paddy's striking has genuinely improved enough to land meaningful, damaging shots, especially when a fighter like Justin overcommits to his own attacks. Ilia explained that Justin often leaves what he calls white spaces, big openings during his heavy exchanges, and that Paddy, if he remains disciplined and sticks to a game plan, has the accuracy to slip in some serious damage with counter punches. It was fascinating to see that, setting aside their own fierce rivalry, Ilia had to admit that Paddy actually matches up pretty well in certain striking scenarios. He warned everyone that fans shouldn't be shocked if Paddy finds some real success on the feet early in this fight.
You want to hear something really fascinating?
Sure. Justin Gaethje against Paddy Pimblett, me against Islam. Once I pass him, I get the title, and you put me against Paddy.
You think Paddy's going to beat Justin Gaethje?
Easy.
That's a crazy thing to say, because Justin Gaethje, animal.
Yeah, but he doesn't know how to grapple, and Paddy knows
But
that.
he's a Division I wrestler. He knows how to grapple.
So, with predictions flying in from everywhere, this matchup has certainly created a huge stir of controversy, but the conversation quickly shifted to why the fight was even made in the first place. Many people wondered why Arman Tsarukyan wasn't included, and it was the legendary Ariel Helwani who led the charge with fiery objections. He said that this booking is a clear case of the UFC prioritizing storylines and business interests over basic competitive fairness by selecting Paddy. Ariel passionately contended that everyone expects the #1 contender, which is Arman, to be in an interim title fight, and that skipping over him fundamentally damages the entire structure and credibility of the lightweight division.
Be very clear. I am not saying that Paddy deserves this more than Arman, but I'm just saying because he hasn't fought, because Ilia hasn't fought, and I suspect they want to get into a training camp. If they haven't even started one already, I suspect they're going to want to announce this, get rolling with the promotion. There's a lot of history there, and you have Arman sit in the front row, and you say he is next. Like, let's get some decorum here. Let's start figuring out who's next. What's the pecking order?
Ariel pushed his argument even further, saying that the official rankings start to lose all meaning when the top-ranked fighter is blatantly ignored for promotional and marketing reasons. He argued that the lightweight division is simply too competitive, too deep with talent for these kinds of shortcuts, and that the fans absolutely deserve clarity and legitimacy. He said the decision feels completely engineered and seems to have nothing to do with actual sporting logic. Ariel warned that the entire division becomes messy and confusing when the rankings get bypassed, especially when it involves something as significant as championship fight.
Mates turn rivals. How in the world are you going to headline an interim title fight over that one? How are you going to put that beneath an interim title fight? And an interim title fight, once again, that does not feature the #1 contender.
Ariel then added that if it wasn't for Ilia's personal issues and rivalries, the only rightful matchup that should have been made was Ilia versus Arman, without any dispute. He forcefully mentioned that both of those fighters earned their positions with actual wins against top contenders, not just with their marketability, and that pushing them aside makes the division run on manufactured hype rather than pure talent. He said inserting Paddy into this spot puts entertainment value squarely over authenticity, a move that is deeply unnerving for the many hardcore fans who follow the sport for its competitive legitimacy and meritocracy.
Honestly, it should have been the co-main event, 5-round, #1 contender fight, Ilia versus Arman, second half of the year. What's the problem with that? And now what you just said, because he reiterated this in the Instagram Live, the winner of this fight is going to fight Ilia. What happens to Arman? Arman's going to have to fight who? What is going on? What does Arman Tsarukyan have to do to get a shot at the belt now? I know he had the fight back in January. He got hurt. Sue the guy. He sat patiently. He went out there. He steamrolled right through Dan Hooker. He did exactly what he had to do. He did what Khamzat and Islam did not do. He finished his opponent on the ground in dominant, impressive fashion. And now what is he? Now he's just floating in the wind. And he's not even next.
And it wasn't just the media. Next, apparently, former two-division champion Daniel Cormier was in full agreement with every single one of Ariel's points, adding that an Ilia versus Arman fight should have been the only title fight on the table. He explained how the UFC risks seriously weakening the division when fighters who have legitimately earned their shot are forced to the sidelines for business reasons. DC emphasized a critical point: merit must remain the absolute core of championship matchmaking, because if it doesn't, the championship belts themselves start to lose their value and prestige. He made it crystal clear that in the long term, the entire division suffers from these types of business-first decisions.
Now he's fought so well that we go, man, the way he beat Chandler, we've never seen that before. But Ilia is a different beast. He's a savage. But so is Arman Tsarukyan. I believe that Arman versus Ilia is the fight, man, 100%. From the interactions they have, the way that you can tell that those guys don't like each other. Ilia said he slapped him the other day. Arman said he touched his face, and now he's saying he slapped him. It's easy to build a fight between these two, because when you build a fight between these two, you feel like it's going to be very competitive.
Michael Chandler also chimed in right away, stating that if Paddy somehow manages to win this fight against Justin, then Ilia Topuria is getting the easiest possible matchup of his entire career for the title. Chandler reasoned that the absolutely massive gaps in physicality, striking depth, and championship-level experience between Ilia and Paddy are just too enormous to ignore. He called it a free-hitting mismatch, one so extreme that the fight would barely even look competitive. It was a brutal assessment, and many other analysts felt similarly, describing it as what would essentially be a free title defense for the champion.
anybody that he's going to fight. I think Paddy would have a good chance to keep it past a round or two because he's not going to engage, I think, as much as Oliveira did, and we all found out how Oliveira would do if that right hand left hook lands. But ultimately, I think Topuria, it's not as big of a mismatch as most people think, but it's definitely a mismatch, and that's just because we're talking Ilia Topuria.
Luke Thomas added to that sentiment and said that people should stop pretending that Justin Gaethje is some kind of heavyweight-sized monster just because he happens to hit incredibly hard. He claimed that Arman Tsarukyan is the one and only real challenge to Ilia Topuria's throne and that the UFC is just wasting everyone's time with all of these unnecessary matchups. He emphasized that Arman possesses the perfect toolkit, the dominant wrestling base, the relentless pace, and the ice-cold composure to push Ilia into the deep, dangerous waters of a 5-round war. As he said himself, Gaethje versus Paddy is definitely entertaining, but it does absolutely nothing to solve the real championship question at the top of the division.
Tsarukyan able to nullify it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is by far the best performance of Arman Tsarukyan's career. We hadn't seen him since April of 2024. We were supposed to see him at the beginning of this year. It all fell apart. I don't know what happened. Back injury, bad weight cut, whatever the actual reason was, I don't know. What I do know is that guy who you just saw there at 155 pounds, and that means I'm excluding Islam from this conversation for the present moment, that is by far Ilia Topuria's toughest test.
And finally, Arman Tsarukyan himself chimed in afterwards, stating plainly, this is nothing but business by the UFC. He said the promotion is clearly chasing views and storyline value and that Paddy is a massive troll who brings a ton of viral attention to everything he does. Arman admitted that he understands the business logic behind the decision, even if he personally hates what it represents. He elaborated, saying the UFC is clearly willing to sacrifice the integrity of its own rankings for the sake of hype, and this is just one of those situations where entertainment wins out over sport.
They already did.
They tried.
They gave him easier because they know he's gonna lose to Ilia. Better like to do interim title and make something like a bigger than, because if he has no title, he's fighting for the title. He's not that big, but when he gonna be, I hope he's not gonna be a champion, but like UFC think he's gonna be a champion and he's gonna fight for the real belt with Ilia. That time he's gonna be superstar and they can sell more pay-per-views or whatever they do. And the real fighters like me just watching and waiting our time, you know.
Arman even admitted that he can see the UFC's long-term plan. They want to build Paddy and Ilia into a mega rivalry, something similar to the global phenomenon that was Conor versus Khabib, and they're actively shaping the entire division around that specific narrative. He said the company sees huge money on the horizon with that matchup and wants to stretch that story out as far as it can possibly go. Arman believes that we're going to see more matchmaking choices that follow this exact pattern because entertainment value is beginning to outweigh the ranking structure more and more openly.
They want to make star Paddy Pimblett and to bring him to fight for the title with Topuria as a bigger name and make it like a big fight, like a kind of Khabib versus Conor, but they're not even if he got the belt.
Then Arman also revealed a fascinating piece of behind-the-scenes information. He was actually offered a fight against Justin Gaethje earlier, but Justin refused it. Apparently, Justin only wanted championship-level fights and flatly rejected anything that would put his high ranking in jeopardy. That very strategy, according to Arman, is exactly how Justin managed to position himself to score this interim title shot. It just goes to show you that in the fight game, timing and negotiation can mold opportunities just as much as your actual in-cage performances.
He said that he was one of the few men in this division that wanted to fight you. I'm curious, how many options did you have for this card? And is it true? Is he one of the few that said yes to fighting you?
No, he's the only one who said yes from deserver fighters. And I supposed to fight with Gaethje as well. He said no.
To wrap up the discussion, one analyst concluded with a sharp attack against the UFC's decision. He explained that in his view, the promotion simply folded to Justin's retirement threats and essentially gifted him a title shot that he didn't fully deserve over other contenders. According to him, fans' expectations involve consistency, especially in stacked divisions like lightweight. Trying to bend the rules for the sake of popularity will ultimately break the long-term trust with the audience. He argued the UFC should have gone with the rankings instead of trying to force a story, calling the move lazy and saying he was very disappointed.
He just levitated his way into an interim title shot, which is insane, but fair enough. As an Englishman, I'm all on board with this. But, you know, it is what it is. I think he'll beat Gaethje, but let it be known, Gaethje said, I'm not fighting ever again, and I'll retire if you don't give me a title shot. And bent the knee. They bent the knee to Justin Gaethje and just gave him what he wanted through him threatening to retire after beating Fiziev on short notice. Are you hearing what I'm saying right now?
So what do you think? Is this fight pure entertainment or is it a legitimate clash for the title? Who walks away with the belt? Drop your predictions down in the comments below. And if you love getting deep into the stories behind the fights, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more fast-paced fight breakdowns, sharp analysis, and non-stop combat sports coverage.